Fruition. Chapter 1. Shruti. Once upon a time, back when tigers smoked and stories were passed down through word of mouth long before writers wrote, there was a dream given to us which revealed the journey of our one supreme soul. They say that such a dream has no use for language, and as we try to understand such a vision, no words come close. But such a dream is like a light out of darkness. This dream of life cannot be confined by one person alone. Nevertheless, we must use language so that this dream can be shared with all common folk. For in this dream lives a secret of the soul. This dream weaves together imaginative extremes, all in an effort to remind every creature, plant, and life form upon the earth to come together into harmony, the same way the original dreamer found this vision before our dreamer awoke. Some say this dream is so powerful that it inspired the birth of our spiritual soul, while others say that after you hear this dream, all language and vocabulary are merely a cosmic joke. After all, how can words express the profound truth from which all life was first grown? Imagine the great sunrise, and we may try to label it however we like, but the truth is heard without words. It is felt and realized, and so out of darkness comes the great light. Even though such a great dream has little use for concepts and words, it is only after the dream ends that we realize how all these descriptions, stories, and words cannot teach a flower how to bloom, but rather there is something within each flower that already knows exactly what it is here to do. We are like that flower, and although I will express this dream in the first person, it is us together. And so, we begin with the first realization, where I should express how there is a center within each of us that is home for all of these characters. Only through something like a story can we see how a fable is a home for each character to become interrelated. As you listen, observe how all these heroes and villains live within. And from this dream, we feel the personalities that arise out from our own imaginations. And speaking of such great dreamlike visions, have you ever gotten caught in a dream where the particulars seem impossible to imagine? Would you call such a dream an illusion? Or could you believe how this ancient dream comes to reveal secret wisdom? I've come to share the story of that ancient dream which first revealed the secret aphorisms. And just as it happened long ago, the closest idea to hold the dream like this in place could be expressed in the following word: fruition. As I think back to how this dream first happened, I recall the vision given to me from a madman and the dream he first had. I only label him as a madman because he is the type of person that none of us seem to understand. Because once he gave me the dream, I began suffering from what a doctor would call amnesia. Now, nothing about this dream is bad news, but that doesn't mean all the characters will thrive. Life isn't meant to be survived, but rather every one of us will come to die. This is a very direct truth, but still it allows us to contemplate the great purpose of our precious human life. Now, where was I? Sometimes the amnesia becomes quite the bother. Oh, right! The dream first began when the soul sets out in search of a great teacher. And upon this journey, we find that we've stumbled upon ancient temple ruins, as we ourselves are this dream's initial character. Yes, you are right here, not separate from one another, but here in this dream. So how did we get here, and what are we to do? Alone among what feels like forbidden temple ruins, it seems our journey has taken such a toll upon us that we've lost our memory of how this all began. And so we start with the realization that our first character begins to wonder how we got here. And so, this character is you. Yes, you. You're the one listening to this voice inside your head. You are setting out upon the great dream of life between, before, and after death. You are the brave, daring, and courageous soul that is willing to journey through life ever far. Now, although you have all the great qualities of a human person, you also contain the less desirable qualities as well. This is what happens when a soul becomes human. And so the only real problem with being you as yourself is that you'll have to take on a lot of responsibility to assume the personality as our main character. Since you and I are listening to this together, we should embrace that you and I are not separate from one another. And because we find ourselves with amnesia, it seems neither you or I can even remember just how much we forget. Why, as I sit here, I cannot recall why I'm surrounded by human bones and ashes, or even why I'm chained to these temple ruins. Without a memory of how anything happened, we contemplate the one word carved into this temple stone as we read aloud, Fruition. With so many bones scattered all around, I wonder why so many people would choose to die here on earth. Even though my memory is of no use, I must admit that I am thankful, grateful, and blessed that some part of my mind is quite aware. Without a functional memory, I decide that we will rely upon the boundless space of the imagination. And isn't it wonderful? Because at least we didn't end up like that original madman. Why, we are still living and breathing. So what is there to fear? As we sit beside the dead skulls, I choose to envision that instead of being afraid of death, I imagine that a period of healing is near. Yes, a new beginning will be life-changing, but I cannot remember how we got so stuck. All that's left in these temple ruins are empty rooms, piles of books, and various photographs. The men and women in these pictures look like holy people from what I can see, and in the center of them is a great sage. Surely this temple was home to a great king, and that is likely why we journeyed all this way. Maybe we came here because we walk in the footsteps just like them, but we've arrived too late since this temple is empty without a true master. Now each night, we bathe with a bucket of cold water, while monkeys, birds, millipedes, spiders, and other bugs are the only living visitors. Long ago the clock broke, but still, time finds a way to move along. Even though I cannot see the time, I'm aware enough to know time is real, and I guess the same could be said about God. But why does time torture us? Why didn't God allow that great teacher to meet us here? Instead, I wonder if we're caught in another dream. But each morning, we awake and find ourselves chained to this nightmare. As I listen to the stillness, without words, I find there is that which is heard. Ah, the silence. The bugs know its ways so well, and now I bow to greet the giant spider up above. But as far as I know, that scary spider was my first living friend here. Oh, what is within this silence? What is it that is heard? If I listen to the silence long enough, I never hear it speak even a single word. The more I wonder about this silence, the less my mind comes to find. But what is this aliveness that God left behind? It lives within the bugs, birds, and monkeys. But then who is it that has trapped us within time? And every so often, I stumble upon a stone that resembles a gem to consider the rarity of such a mystery. Even this gem was left behind with no instructions, but at last we have found each other. And why would such a gem be subjected to time's never-ending trickery? Oh, here on this planet, there is time, and as it passes by, why, I just noticed this, because within the space of time, the life forms among us still have time to choose what we will do with our lives, and this is a sort of personal commitment. Is such a choice a tragic punishment? Or is this an opportunity to find our way through it? Are we like that gem left behind in the earth as we wait for someone to notice? Or were we chained here so that we might discover our true purpose? And how come these animals and bugs are so fearless? At any moment, they could be eaten alive. Every second, they too have a choice and a commitment while they move forward, because they must know the truth about time. They know that someday it expires. Again, I checked the broken clock in this temple, but I forgot that long ago it stopped keeping track. Oh, right. I forget my condition called amnesia, and as time continues on, I find my gaze set upon that one word carved into the stone, fruition. Something in me wants to believe I'm here for a good reason, even though I cannot see it. And so I call upon the boundless space of my personal imagination. Today is another dream where time pushes life around. I take time to notice the birds, the bees, the bugs, and the clouds. Am I in awe of their beauty? Or do I feel pain of my own miserable condition? Who chained me to this temple? And why have I forgotten? As I look for clues, I wonder why there is so much soot and charred ash. It seems as if a great fire burnt this temple to the ground along with everyone in it. Surely all fires are related, yet somehow this fire burnt so different. And there must have been a fire that overtook this great temple. But I need to be clear. I'm almost certain I'm not the one who did this. I swear, if anything, I was just a witness. And before I forget, I must mention that I suffer from symptoms similar to amnesia. Neither the animals nor I know what to make of this, and I'm afraid my condition has gone on so long that I can't even remember why I'm the only one here, or why they left me naked. Truth be told, I don't know why it matters if anyone wears clothes. After all, the animals don't. A better question is to be or not to be. And how long have I been here that my naked body is covered in ashes? The real mystery of this temple is that all the creatures and I would really like to know who's responsible for this. Because from the looks of it, such a great fire could have only come from a creature like a dragon. Maybe that's why there is so little written about them. Because even if you saw one, you'd likely be eaten by that fire-breathing dragon. And just to be clear, I'm almost certain I am not the one who did this. Now where were we? Oh, right. For a soul to be born as a living being, it seems there must be a certain celestial initiation where the soul is sent to earth in search of a body, so such a being can join in the ways of the living to gain experiences. Life upon the earth is astounding, but also rough and unforgiving. If any species makes the wrong mistake, then that creature could be due for extinction. Maybe that's what happened. And now that I think of it, why weren't any of us given instructions or directions? As far as I've learned from the animals here, a soul's expedition is a manifestation of the individual decisions, while each soul is upon a journey through creation to discover the limitless possibilities of a living spirit's incarnation. And never did I imagine that I'd get homesick. I can't even remember if they wear skin or clothes on my home planet. And while I hate to admit it, sometimes I wonder if I've lost my true purpose. But at least I think I'd remember if I was the one who caused all this. And does each soul yearn for its home planet? Because why would God send me down to this earth circus? Now who did this? And what were they trying to do? Oh, just then a bird flew over the horizon. And if I was born as a bird, I'd spend my seasons in search of where the earth treasure is hidden. Now what was I doing? As I looked down at my legs, our body was seated in a sort of meditation. Oh right, I noticed how an absorption overtook the mind and body, while the rest of me recalled how one of my legs has been chained to this temple, while my life is pinned here in despondent irritation. I've tried to break the chain 1,000,000 times, but since I've never succeeded, I use the mind as a great vehicle where I float away into the infinite imagination. As if my body hovered, I picture myself as a bird in search of a buried treasure. Was the treasure stolen, or is it missing? And so the search took my awareness far and wide as I ventured deeper into the imagination. When we imagine, it doesn't matter if we're clothed or naked, because who needs anything when you're traveling around in the consciousness of the universal creation? Waves of awareness spread energy into thoughts when I felt a crash of desperation. And again, I had to remind myself that I am alive for a good purpose. The nice thing about amnesia is that you don't remember how many times you forget. And so I let my awareness ask all sorts of questions while I observe such waves of consciousness. Now, if there was a hidden treasure, where would it be? Seated in a daydream, I wonder if they hid it in a cornfield or under a rock. And for a moment, I thought I might snap back to reality as I pictured a great sage beside me, as if he'd quiz me on how I lost my memory. Oh, great sage, all I can say is that I forgot. It had been a long road through this reflection when the contemplation led to a new wave as I pictured the birth of creation. An imaginative thought began to weave sound and light together when it gave birth to a ripple called vibration and action. Someone had set the universe in motion, but who did it? And where is the treasure hidden? Again, I turned inward to navigate this introspection. And while visions poured out, I maintained that inward gaze to see what else I might imagine. What if life is like a balancing act, where life itself is a sort of reflection? But what if it's like a dance? Or is life something like skillful wrestling? And how long until it would all come to fruition? At this point, the only way I'll break free from this chain is if I can manage to find the end of my imaginations. Well, if that's the case, then we may as well dream our way out of it. And if I am to find the way, I better start with the proper deep questions. As the mind went off to imagine, I knew somewhere our awareness was linked to a great source of wisdom. Maybe I was cursed, or compared to the animals, maybe I was the lucky human who was able to observe a path to fruition. Inside of myself, I felt like a wild parrot who was eavesdropping. And the deeper I journeyed into myself, the more I grew curious about the spirit of creation. Why, if I went deep enough, maybe I could see where the treasure was hidden. But why in the world wouldn't God give us any directions? Right when my curiosity couldn't bear my own thoughts any longer, the daydream was interrupted when I was surprised by the sudden arrival of a beautiful parrot. It sat on my shoulder. Yes, this parrot was eavesdropping. As it tuned into my brainwaves, I became overjoyed because this situation seemed to be the exact thought I'd just been imagining. Its feathers held the divine green and blue hue, as the parrot said nothing. But where had it come from? Did it realize what planet it had gotten stuck on? Maybe it was also in search of something. Both the parrot and I gazed up to the stars, where we found a sense of wonder. Oh, I wanted to know where in the night sky was this parrot's home planet. Down here on Earth, it was pure madness, but this parrot wasn't fazed by any of it. It would give a nod here or a blink there. Such a beautiful creature, and as I looked into its eyes, it too had a conscious life with which it was powered by a source of imaginative awareness. Now the more I tuned into the parrot, the more the parrot's conscious awareness spoke of a distant time when the land beneath our feet was a sacred palace. The parrot said that this temple was a distant link between earth and heaven, but then this temple had been burned to the ground after a great fight. It seemed that the only way to protect divinity was when a war broke out between both sides. For a moment the parrot stopped, then it twisted its head and looked right into my eyes. I swear I heard it speak when it said,
"Come to life."
Why, I think I recognize this place. This was the ruins of an ancient temple that had been abandoned. But I swear I didn't do it. I'm just the last man standing. And ever since that war went down, someone chained me to this temple because I have no idea who did this. The parrot went on to explain that by the end of the Great War, there were no winners, only killers. Seated in a contemplative posture, I had to reconsider how I'd gotten trapped. Had it been many lifetimes that I'd been stuck? Or had someone put me here and left me shackled? What if I had been caught in the act? But what am I guilty of? And what did I do? Someone chained me here and left me without telling me any of the rules. This chain trapped me to the world, and I envied the parrot's wings as it could fly away. These chains were so heavy, I wore them for too long, and now I waited for anything else the parrot might say. Oh, but why had I ever left home? I suppose I wanted to get far away from the civilized ways, but now I'd gotten chained in this earthly place? And whoever did this left the chain fastened around my ankle so long that I could move anywhere within the temple's broken gates. Some wicked person must have really wanted me stuck to this ruined place. I suppose I might remember an army coming here, and the last thing they would have said before they left was how this place was haunted grounds. Oh, I think I remember an enemy invasion, and I'm trying so hard to imagine just how a battle might have gone down. The parrot explained that enemy troops came to invade this sacred land. It said this earth temple was a gateway to the spiritual portal. And ever since that battle took place, these ruins are suspended between the upper and lower worlds. A great king used to call this his home, and the parrot said that I'd been sleeping in his room, which overlooks the sacred river. And although I see many boats pass between the river of life and death, not one of them ever stops here. The parrot said that the man who owned this palace was a good king and a spiritual being who cared for his people. Judging from the books and scriptures he left behind, this king would have spent his mornings in meditation, study, and prayer. Then I pictured how in the afternoons he'd tend to his gardens or hold discussions with spiritual elders where questions and fresh insight would be delivered. But once that war broke out, what could an ancient king even do? He'd either have to fight to protect the spiritual portal, but what if the oncoming enemy was so great that he knew he'd lose? It wouldn't have been an easy task to protect the earth link between the spiritual world. And did that ancient king know something about a buried treasure? What was once a portal was now a broken archway. And just as I started to pull at the shackle by which I was chained, my body shuddered, which spooked the parrot as it flew away. "Oh, come back! Please don't leave me here." The chains followed me as I ran under the parrot as I pointed my hands up in prayer. Eternity is a long time to be left behind, but at least I have no memory of time. Still, it's far too long to be chained, especially when I have no memories in this mind. All these stories I believe about this temple seem to change, depending on the state I'm thinking, and even that changes with the seasons. Depending on the day, I get glimpses into what could have happened here, and I think there does seem to be one common vision. I'm always curious about that picture of the madman. He must be the one who etched the word fruition into the stone, because in his picture, he stands beside it. Sometimes when I sleep, the madman appears in my dreams. It seems the spirit of the madman comes back from time to time. I never quite know why he comes to visit in my dreams or what it is that he's after. Now a memory came clear when I recalled him visit from a distant dream. He had a fire in his eyes, dressed as a divine warrior. His speech didn't say a word, for this was a message, and it was that which is heard. He revealed a great vision, when in this dream the king's army began to fall. Now the king and his community departed in boats and journeyed off to the spirit world. That's when I raised the shackles as if to ask, but how did I get chained here? That madman revealed how a wicked enemy rose up from the earth as an evil force overtook the material world. And just before the king closed the door to the spirit world, the madman revealed how he covered himself with ashes to face the armies alone. For this madman was the king's guardian and the ancient temple's last protector. How could I call him a madman when he did what no other man dared to do? Even if I can't tell what he's thinking, behind his fiery eyes, I know he stands for the truth. And this dream felt so real, as if the madman was alive. He knew something I didn't, and I believe he's aware of what's across the river after we die. In the dream, his tongue was a sword, and long ago, he destroyed the old armies of earth. So surely, he knows about this chain on my ankle, and he must have seen who locked me here. At once, flames emerged in his eyes, before I lifted a leg when he became absorbed in a trance. Together, we began to relive the moment when countless enemies closed in around this temple with their weapons held high. As fire spread, it seemed the flames came out from his eyes, and just as the wicked armies tried to overtake the temple, the moment they stepped inside, within an instant, everyone was burnt alive. In that vision, I saw how anyone who entered the gate and tried to fight this great warrior came to perish and die. And so, not a single soldier who tried to destroy the madman survived. And was I dreaming, or was I awake? The vision of the madman seemed to leave me in a sort of transient state as I dragged the chain links forward until I stepped into the river before the shackle held me back, as I could only go as deep as my waist. With my gaze upon the surface of the water, the madman's reflection appeared. I looked down and saw a great warrior stare back when the fire in his eyes came clear. "What do you want from me?"
When a man takes control of his inner chaos, he can create order in the world around him,
said the madman. I held up the chains, and his reflection in the water knew I wished to be freed. But instead of mercy, the madman looked on without pity. "But why won't you help me?" His face had yet to vanish, but I'd gotten so lost in his imaginative gaze while the water surface rippled as I felt my body begin to shake and panic. Still, the madman's reflection had yet to vanish. "Who are you?"
"I am you looking back,"
he said. In silence, his face was emotionless, and I couldn't tell if his skin was blue or if he was covered in ashes. My hands pushed through the water as if to send him away, but his reflection always remained. "I'm going crazy because there's no way you could be here with me."
"The master you seek is here among you and me, and this is the great teacher that can set you free,"
he said. "But there's no one else here."
"The spiritual master is the principal, and so the great teacher does not need a human body,"
he said. "Then give me a sign." The night was so dark when at once a tiny glow emerged from behind as both the madman and I became aware of a little light. Somewhere in the temple, there was a radiance that appeared to illuminate the ancient king's room, as if a flame had come to life. As I backed out of the water, my feet got tangled in the chain, because as I entered the king's room, there was a light atop a single candle flame, and now it twisted and turned in a way I could not explain. Oh, how strange! "Are you a spirit that's listening?" I spoke to the candle flame. The flame bowed forward. "So you are a living being?" Again the flame wiggled as I gazed on in amazement, and then with one swift shift, the flame pointed at a nearby bookshelf. As if the flame might jump off the wick, this little light demonstrated immediate urgency as it demanded attention. But what was this auspicious fire's intention? The flame seemed to know what it was reaching for, so I moved closer to the books as I considered what this fire tried to imply. We've got the Bible, the Quran, Torah, Rig Veda, Bhagavad Gita, Spandakartikas, and Kabir. At once the flame flickered and popped, and so our search stopped. A finger pulled Kabir's book into my hands when I opened it in front of the flame, while it hovered over as if to eavesdrop. There on page 344 was a poem that had not yet faded. and so I read it out loud while the flame waited. One has forgotten oneself, just as a dog in a mirror house barks at his own images, just as the tiger saw his own reflection and fell in the dark well. So the mad elephant rubbed his ivory teeth on the white crystal rock. The monkey had the sweet in his fist, but went on dancing door to door. Kabir says, "You are the parrot of the forest. Who has caught and caged you?" A moment later, I heard a latch pop open, as if a little lever had just broken. That buckle had been holding a box shut, but now a gust of wind brought an instrument to life when this box expanded like a human lung, as if there was something to be spoken. Why, moments ago, the instrument was closed, when it let out a giant reverberation as a vibration of sound echoed across the entire temple as it sung. The once empty bag came to life when the hum overtook the land, as it filled the bugs and animals with contemplation. Even the spiders were tuned in, while the fire illuminated the wooden instrument, as we all waited to hear its tranquil expression. I crawled beside the instrument, where I noticed how various keys, or latches, covered slits that had been cut into the box, and each slit could either release or hold back air, when my fingers intuitively pumped the back of the box as it expanded once more. Again, it resonated a hum so sweet that the vibration sang its own divine prayer. What it said, I do not know, but as my fingers pumped more air into the instrument, the resonance grew louder.
"Bring me to the water,"
a voice whispered. What? Who's there?
"Quick, before the vibration dies,"
she said. This instrument even had a handle to carry it, but I'd gotten spooked from the voice of it, and at once my fingers couldn't put any more air into it when the ancient temple was overcome by silence. I don't know who you are, but where are you? After the sound was finished, her voice was gone. The candle's fire thrashed violently, as if something had gone wrong, as if it was ready to jump off the wick and burn me to the ground. This fire seemed willing to risk its own life to hear that vibrational sound. And so, again, my hand pumped the instrument when it breathed in a new life. The resonance came back, and so did the woman's voice.
"Don't let go of me. Not yet. I need you to help me find my eyes. I will tell you any wisdom you ask for, if only you keep my Shruti box alive,"
said the woman. Who are you?
"Long ago, my body was cut into many pieces. Then my limbs, my heart, my mind, and my senses were scattered across the world with the wind. Please, I beg you, bring me to the water's edge,"
she whispered. But I too am suffering. I am chained to this temple, and I am also stuck.
"My eyes, they are nearby. Take me to the water's edge, and as you play this instrument, I will dive deep and swim to find them. If only I find my eyes, I'll see exactly how we can get out of it,"
she said. As I carried the latch on the box, my other hand was a guide for the breath into the Shruti box. The hum vibrated along the water's edge, where the resonance of the instrument projected a ripple upon the water as if it could talk. The resonance rumbled louder when a woman's unseen form rose out from the sea. First her right eye stared back, then she picked up her left, and finally she lifted a third eye up before I saw the outline of her see-through body. Her cosmic shape hovered out from the Shruti box as this extraterrestrial woman floated over the ocean and ground freely. What is happening? The entire cosmos were wrapped in her bosom when I saw the galaxies spin and pulsate to the sound of her heartbeat. She was empty, completely gone, but now she could see. It seemed the Shruti box and I were her path back into the world, and this moment was her re-entry.
I'm back. Thank you.
She said. Who are you?
Call me Shruti.
She said. And what happened to you?
I fell into love, and it became my life. I am a spiritual being, and long ago, I was a divine wife.
She said. And you said you were cut up, and your body was scattered all over?
Do not think spirituality means having a nice, quiet life. It means being set on fire.
A moment later, she disappeared when I realized my fingers stopped fueling air into the instrument when I ended the vibration's rhythm. And so again, I pumped the box full of air when sound came alive, but now Shruti was missing. Cosmic dust was left in her tracks when I carried the instrument to find her. Chains dragged behind me as we searched everywhere. Off across the courtyard, her stardust left me to a large balcony beside the long-forgotten temple room that overlooked the great river which separated Earth from the afterlife. Boat after boat traveled upon the river of life after death, while I was chained to the suffering of real life. But then I felt Shruti in the wind as she passed on by. Oh, Shruti was so quick to send signs as she ignited a sense of spiritual insight around this abandoned temple. Then a moment later, I heard a mysterious door creak open. Shruti, are you there?
Death shall not take him,
She whispered. The door she opened led into the only room of the temple which I refused to enter. Why, the last time I went into that door is when the amnesia took over. Ever since then, I could not quite remember.